and welcome to our first Elevate Professional Learning webinar series of the season. And I am Dr. Cynthia Williams Phelps. Thank you all for being here. I'm also going to put in the chat, if you haven't signed in, I will put that in the chat. Rachel, hello, so happy to see you. Glad to see everyone. And for everyone who is teaching in classroom or teaching in a studio, happy, if this is your first week back, or happy first weeks of school. So again, welcome, and today's presentation is recorded for future use. If you don't want your image to be visible, please feel free to turn off your camera. We won't be doing any breakout sessions today, but typically if we have those are not recorded. Remember to mute your microphone, and then feel free to put questions, comments, and responses in the chat. I shared the link for the sign-in. If you want to use the QR code, you are free to use that as well. But if you could put in the chat, what inspired you to be here today? All right, Sarah shared, I'm trying to develop professionally as I try to find a K through 12 position teaching dance. Awesome. Todd shared, I support music and the arts as the new fine arts coordinator for FFSD. I am trying to open my mind to ways I can help my teachers. Awesome. Melissa, learning about reflecting on my own practice and how to inform myself to improve. Great. Thank you so much. Well, I'm happy to see everyone, and if we have more people, let's see. If we have more people join us, that will be awesome. We're going to move ahead. So with our new Elevate Professional Learning series, our goal and mission is to elevate teaching and learning for all educators and students through equipping arts-centered learning, empowering vision for arts education, amplifying artistic teaching practices, and engaging arts education opportunities for all students. So again, if you don't know me, I think most of you do. I'm Cynthia Williams Phelps, and today's webinar is on 5 ideas for effective reflective arts-centered teaching. I am the Director of Professional Learning for Missouri Alliance for Arts Education. I'm a career music education specialist. I have a PhD in music education, and I'm a university supervisor, as well as a music teacher educator and an arts across the curriculum specialist for Missouri Alliance. So again, thank you for being here. We're going to cover a variety of aspects of effective reflective teaching today. So giving you an opportunity to think about perceptions about your own reflection and reflective teaching, as well as what is reflective practice, professional connections, and some ideas for developing this habit for yourself. So we're going to give you the opportunity to begin to create a personal scaffold for reflective practice that then you can use that to create a framework for art-centered reflective teaching. So let's just take a moment to pause. When you hear reflective practice, what do you think of? And then when you hear the phrase effective teaching, what does that mean to you? So if you could take a moment to think about that, and then if you would like to unmute and share your ideas, feel free to do that as well. And you can also share it in the chat.
I'll never forget when reflective practice, there was another term that they used before that one about 20 years ago when I was teaching at the university. And I thought that's the dumbest thing I've ever thought of. And then I realized that's what I'd been doing all along. And not only at the moment when you're teaching, but at night when you go home, And then I've always taught students to do the same thing over a week, actually a day, a week, month, and so forth, so that you can, and that helps in your planning. Like I was able to accomplish this, and I couldn't accomplish this. So what do I need to change? So I think that makes you a more effective teacher.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bob. Melissa shared, I think teachers who engage in reflective practice spend time at the end of each day to inform what happens in future lessons. So, Bob, you were talking about that as well. It helps in your planning, it helps you to be more effective. Students are engaged and able to make connections between lessons. Absolutely. Anyone else? Any thoughts you'd like to share? And please feel free to put those in the chat. So, reflective teaching and effective teaching go hand in hand. So, when we look at what research has said about reflective practice and what does that mean, and sometimes you'll hear reflection in action or reflection on action. um, the work that you are doing and reflecting on it as you're doing it, before you're doing it, and after you're doing it. Reflective thinking is used across multiple disciplines and professions, and to engage in reflective practice is to consistently engage. I love this uh, definition. Consistently engage in a cycle of self observation and improvement while critically examining beliefs and pedagogical practices to inform future classroom actions. Why reflection matters, or why does it matter? All of these areas impact the other areas. So our personal growth has an impact on our professional growth, has an impact on our students' growth. Reflectivity leads to being proactive in our own professional development and provides evidence for our administrators if we're in a school district, school system, and it impacts our growth plans. All right, great. Sarah shared reflective teaching, looking back on what was taught and how, so that it can be better in the future, and effective teaching giving students more than head knowledge about a subject. Excellent. Thank you. So when we look at quality standards, teacher quality standards for student teachers, as well as if you're in the teaching profession, DESE has provided a Missouri educator evaluation system, and then the DESE teacher quality standards. And so these are how our student teachers and we as teachers are evaluated. So standard 8, and this is the same for the MEAS and for the teacher quality standards. Standard 8 is professionalism. The teacher is a reflective practitioner who continually assesses the effects of choices and actions on others. The teacher actively seeks out opportunities to grow professionally in order to improve learning for all students. So it's not just something we want to engage in for ourselves personally, but is something that is expected and that we are evaluated on as professional teachers. So we're going to take a look at, take a little bit deeper dive into these 5 ideas on how to build sustainable habit of reflectivity. That will help you grow as a professional. It will enhance your students' learning experiences and develop a reflective growth mindset within your professional learning community. So, taking a look at your narrative, what is your own professional journey? We're going to give you an opportunity to explore some of those beliefs about art-centered teaching, view teaching through a reflective lens, create a system for self-assessment and reflection, and then how do you engage in reflective dialogue with colleagues and professional communities. And at the end of our session today, I will email all of you the slides from our session, as well as a reflective journal template for you to use in your own practice. So there are levels of reflectivity: surface level reflection, pedagogical level reflection, and critically reflective practice. With surface level reflection, this typically is observed in early career teachers who are asking the question, am I doing this right? And we often ask that any throughout our whole career, am I doing this right? And this is focused on procedures and classroom management. With the pedagogical level reflection, we begin to apply, we're moving from theory into practice. So we're beginning to take a deeper dive into the pedagogical content knowledge and aligning our teaching practices with personal teaching philosophies. Then with critically reflective practice, that is the really deep dive. We're beginning to deeply examine the role of our ethical, moral, and political consequences of our teaching philosophies. And then this is also an opportunity to explore culturally responsive teaching, global awareness, and learning opportunities. All right. So here are three prompts, three questions for you to think about. I'm going to give you a moment to explore these, and then you can share your response to one question, or you can share your response to all of these. So I want you to think about your own perceptions, again, of your personal reflective teaching, your professional reflective teaching. How do you think your own artistic journey impacts your beliefs about teaching? So I know many of you are arts teachers, and that might look different for a classroom teacher. I know that Rachel is music as well as gifted education. Sarah is dance. Todd, I know you are teaching multiple
Vocal.
vocal. Okay. Um, so I want you to think about how your own artistic journey impacts your beliefs about teaching. What have you observed about the reflective practices of other teachers? And then describe your own current techniques for self reflection. So let's take a moment for you to think about that. And then you can share that in the chat, and we can also share out.
Well, if we're waiting for someone to answer, I'll volunteer.
Jump on in there.
So, how do I think about my own artistic journey and how it impacts my beliefs about teaching? Well, um, gosh, I mean, I've been making music ever since my mom has evidence of me being in her little toddler choir at church. You know, it's like, and it's blackmail, let me tell you that. Um, I was not the best student, you know, not the kindest person in the elementary grades, but we all grow. But how's that artistic journey impact my teaching? It's just that, like, you take people from where they are and through artistry, through making a performance, through singing or playing, which kind of lends itself to being a avenue to help with, you know, like attention deficit and hyperactivity because they have an instrument in their hands. I tell you what, I might even benefited from that, or you know, because you're focused on music and singing. But I think anybody can do it. You know, it just I accept students from where they are and then allow them to grow without judgment. I think that was my take from my personal experience, and then seeing showing them how performing in an ensemble or being a part of music can take you around the world. I mean, it's just you could perform in any place. I know it was great to see Dr. Gifford up there. Bob took me to across the Atlantic a couple times with the Missouri Ambassadors, and I'd say I would not have had that opportunity had I not been in a band or been in a choir, and that just makes me, I think, a rounded individual. What when it comes to like reflective practices and other teachers, that's a hard one because I'm not always in the room when they're doing that reflection process. We just see the final product, you know. We just see the concert. We just see the MMEA performance. We don't see the behind the scenes, I guess you could say. We don't see behind the curtain. As far as my current self-reflection, I don't generally write anything down, but I do, especially if, oddly enough, I guess if a lesson doesn't go well, if a rehearsal doesn't go well, I tend to be more reflective on that and say why. You know, just think about, okay, let's look at what we did and how can I change for tomorrow? Because why wait to change and when you see them again tomorrow, let's just go ahead and I'll even be open and honest with them. Say, guys, yesterday that lesson didn't go. I made some changes to this lesson, so we're gonna try it again, and you let me know. In fact, so I guess they help me reflect how well it goes or how well it doesn't go this time. So I'm pretty open on with my students about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And that brings up a good point. So much of what we do is it's implicit. We or tacit. We're already doing it. We're constantly in that state of self-reflection, whether we realize it or not. And then taking the time to do these kind of exercises helps us to make those practices that we are doing that we know are successful. It helps to make it more explicit, so you're naming it, you're becoming more aware of it. But so much of effective teaching becomes that it's just something we automatically do. It's not something that we're thinking about intentionally. um, and then, so Todd, thank you so much for sharing that and sharing about your journey. Melissa shared, I have taught in different settings, different socioeconomic levels. So I look at the culture first. I meet the communities where they are and what they want before I ask for changes. Um, some teachers force changes and become frustrated. It took me 20 years to learn to reflect at the end of the day, write my thoughts down, and then leave by 4 p.m. and limit what I take home. That is a good practice, a good self-care practice as
Yeah.
well.
Cynthia, one thing too, when on that second question about teachers with their reflective practices, sometimes I think that in the fine arts we do that more because we don't teach we teach the skills, the same skills, but it's not like we teach the same song every year. We may rotate some things around or the same dance or the same art project. So I think when you talk about that being implicit, we're constantly having to do that because we have and we actually see the end product. We actually put the end product out there. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, the biggest evaluation for an arts teacher is the performances and the art shows and anything that you are inviting the parents to.
Right. Right. And Todd made a good point of that too. We see the end product. We don't see the process. And so much of that process is um, the reflective teaching and the reflective thinking that leads to that effective teaching that leads to a good end product. All right. Thank you all so much. as we grow in our own reflective practice, then we can also engage our students in reflection. And you all were talking about that end product. And that might look like having a reflection after the performance, after the art show. Student reflection provides opportunities for critical thinking, metacognition skills, aligns with democratic practices. It gives students a voice in their educational process and opportunities to respond to the work of their peers and their own work. So you can accomplish this through journaling, maybe digital portfolios, giving them opportunities for peer feedback. And that can be during that process leading up to the performances. Reflections that are embedded in daily work, and then student feedback for you on your own process. So that helps you to become a better teacher through all those different reflective techniques. So just a few tips for you to create your own system for self-assessment and reflection. One of the best ways to reflect, and I've shared this with student teachers, is to reflect on the go. So use your voice, if you have a voice memo app, or send yourself a text at the end of the day, just so you can reflect quickly. If you don't have a lot of time, you can do that quickly. Leaving yourself messages, celebrate your successes, and identify what worked well. You can journal for a minute or 5 minutes, and like I said, I will send you a reflective journal template that I have created. You can also video record yourself. That a lot of people don't like to see themselves on video, but that's a great way to capture some of your teaching. Then you can go back and reflect on that. So voice memos, Google Docs, any way that you can set up a system for yourself so you can engage in regular practice. So thinking about just even a quick start, think of a time in your teaching day. Which class, what grade level, what was the class demographic? If you just want to focus on one class period and thinking about, what worked well, were the students engaged? How did you know that they were engaged? Were there any interruptions? What were those interruptions? Like, we're at the beginning of school right now. We're at the beginning of a new learning season. That's going to look different than the middle of the semester or the end of the semester. That's going to look different when you come back after winter break. And so there are these ebbs and flows of the academic year that you want to take into consideration. How does all of that affect your instructional flow, and what would you do differently? What are areas that you might identify for improvement? How can you level up your own teaching, maybe 1% for tomorrow? And then, did your teaching align with your overall teaching philosophy? And that's where that reflective practice comes in. Thinking about your own personal teaching philosophy, your professional goals for the year. How does that align with your school and the district goals and objectives? So all of that fits together. Does anyone have any questions about any of these ideas so far?
I have a question, Cynthia, just
Yes.
because I've been out of the public school so long. To me, videotaping has always been so very, very effective. As you said, we just don't like to see ourselves in a situation, but we learn what we appear to others. So my question is, currently, what are the implications, especially in elementary classrooms, I suppose even in rehearsals of musical groups? What are the political and the legal implications of doing that?
Well, if you're just doing it for yourself, and Melissa, you can chime in here. If you're only doing it for yourself and you're not publishing it on a public platform, it's not a problem. If
Okay,
it's just for yourself, and typically if you're doing it for yourself, you may not even want to, you might want to just focus it on yourself and not have any
sure.
faces of students involved. Um and if, again, if you're just doing it for yourself, you're not sharing it on any kind of public or social platform, that's a whole different thing. And I don't even know what, when you start getting into, well, when you start getting into like posting videos on social media, that's a whole different thing. Um and that would get into, you would need permission from parents and all kinds of things. So if you're just doing it for yourself, it's not an issue.
Okay, yeah.
Melissa, would you agree with that?
Yes, yes. And most of the time it is good to focus it on yourself so you can watch your own body language and watch your own eye contact. And are you looking too much at your music or your plans, and just learning to, you know, to know your mannerisms.
Mhm.
You know, do you ever smile?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, and thank you, Bob, for asking that question. I think that's something that's so important for teachers at any stage of their career to keep in mind, especially, well, especially now that so many people post to social media. When we're talking about arts centered teaching, this is where classroom teachers, as well as fine arts specialists, can bring an additional layer of creative thinking and engagement to their teaching. So, how do you currently integrate opportunities for creative learning through the arts? So, I know two of you are music specialists, and Bob, you are a music ed specialist. Sarah, you are dance. Um, so if you're already teaching, you're already engaged in a fine arts subject area already. Do you work with collaboratively with other teachers, with other arts specialists? Take a moment to think about that. What is your current practice?
So one thing, just like any good musician, we beg, borrow, and steal from our peers. Um, and if we could have do that legally with our music, I mean, it was the biggest compliment in box time, right? If you stole one of his little ditties, he would have been like, "Oh, cool, great, that's awesome, you liked it." But now it's like legal and stuff. But anyway, how do you currently integrate opportunities? So my own child's choir concert from first grade, I was intrigued by the thought of their work with the grade level teachers and picking a book that they then based the concert on. So, like, this book was all about the seasons, right? So there's like a couple pages on fall, a couple pages on summer, and so on and so forth. And then there was a couple songs for each season that they sang, and they had kids memorize certain lines from that book. And so that's definitely a practice I'm going to steal and try to incorporate with my elementary teachers in Ferguson Florissant. So I have had a couple bites on that. I kind of put it out there and said a couple people were interested. So I think that's one of the things that we can do in the arts. So many times though we do see like how can the arts help math? How can the arts help science? Well, let's do the other way too. I mean, how can the core subjects help the arts? So I think there has to be a two-way street there. We're asked so many times to do it the other way.
No, I think that's a great point. There's so many ways that um, there can be cross-disciplinary learning. And so sometimes we get it, as fine arts educators, we get into the mindset, well, I'm already teaching an art. Why would I need arts integration? And then classroom teachers may not feel comfortable integrating the arts into what they're doing. But I think that's where that collaborative mindset is helpful. And I love that idea of integrating the literacy into the work that you're doing, using a book to build a program around, integrating, working collaboratively with other teachers to create units that integrate maybe music and science, or dance and math, or art and theater in social studies. So there's all different kinds of ways that we can integrate that art through arts across the curriculum. And then we also know that arts integration increases student engagement. It helps with deeper connections and a greater retention of content. And then it helps students to have a more relevant learning experience through those different creative processes. So there are a multitude of art-centered teaching resources across the state of Missouri. So the Missouri Arts Council has a program called the A+ program, and I have links to all of these, and I'll share those with you in my PDF slides that I send out to you. But the Missouri Arts Council has an A+ program that is a whole school arts integration program. And this is for any school district, any school across the state of Missouri. Missouri Alliance also has a program called Art-Centered Education. And we work with teaching artists to partner with school districts, partner with schools to come in and help individual teachers or cohorts of teachers to learn how to create arts-centered education, arts integrated lesson plans. And all of these programs, all of these different organizations utilize teaching artists. So even if you are a fine arts education specialist, you might have the opportunity to work with a teaching artist in a different discipline area. So COCA, Center of Creative Arts in St. Louis, they work with teaching artists. They have an arts integration program. Springboard to Learning in St. Louis also has an arts integration program. The Kansas, Missouri Kennedy Center Partners in Education, each summer they host a arts integration symposium. That's a great opportunity if you're in the Kansas City area. That's a great opportunity to go and learn from teaching artists and classroom teachers about arts integration. And then in the Springfield area, the Springfield Regional Arts Council hosts a arts integration symposium. And all throughout the year, there are multiple opportunities to learn more about arts integration and arts across the curriculum for your classrooms. So as we wrap up this portion, if you have any questions, please let me know. But this is one of my favorite ideas about reflective teaching. By engaging in reflective teaching, you will move from asking, am I doing this right, to this is the right thing to do. And another quote of another little mantra of mine, I'm not just a teacher, I'm a mentor guiding my students towards a future filled with creativity and possibilities. So thank you very much. What questions do you have, or other thoughts about your own reflective teaching and how you might move toward a more art-centered teaching approach?
Okay, I'll jump in, Cynthia. A
Thank you.
wonderful job, and so well organized, very thorough. I think this is the best explanation of arts across or across the curriculum that I've ever seen.
Well, I appreciate that. And this is definitely something, since it's recorded, And these resources will be available on our website. We'll share them in our newsletter, and I definitely will pass this on. This is a presentation that I've also given at different arts ed organization conferences. So it's definitely something we want to share. So once we have this recording edited, I will also send it out to you all, and please feel free to share this and the other resources that we have available. So thank you, Bob, for that encouragement. You can also earn graduate credit through Lindenwood University for our professional learning webinars. And if you would like more information about that, please email me at cynthia.phelps@moaae.org. And once again, thank you for your feedback, your suggestions, comments. All of those are welcome. Thank you for being here today. Thank you all for sharing your expertise and your journeys. If you have more questions, please let me know. I'm going to put this survey, I'm going to stop share. I'm going to put this survey link in the chat. You can also use this QR code if you would like to.